The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome to the Avant Healthcare Professional presentation this morning. I'm Professor Nguyen, an IELTS instructor here at Avant. Our presentation today, 7 top secrets of academic English. So let's go ahead and get started. As you know, academic English, academic IELTS, academic English. This is one of the obstacles you have to getting a high score on the test. Most people learn academic English when they're already in the university. But of course, if you're going to take the academic IELTS test, you have to know some academic English before you go to school. And so we're going to look at 7 secrets to academic English today. So here is a review of what our agenda is for today, looking at these 7 points of academic English to help you use it better and more effectively on the exam. First of all, it is university level English. It's formal and precise and objective. It's not spoken English, and there are no contractions in academic English. Remember, academic English is formal. Academic English also hedges with modals, which I'm going to explain. There is no use of I, you, or we. Because remember, it's objective. And your personal opinion is not part of academic English. And I'm going to explain there are ways around when they ask you the question to give your opinion. You can give your opinion without using I, you, and we. And finally, passive English. And this is a way to get around using I, you, and we, is this passive English. As an English teacher, of course, we don't really encourage students to use passive English so much. It takes more words than it does to use active English, and it's less direct. But academic English is also less direct, as you'll see as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So academic English is university level English. This is the English that is used in US, UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand universities. And there are certain norms or rules that are followed using academic English. Remember, this is the English used by professors and students at these schools, but also researchers. You're supposed to consider yourself like as a researcher, as a third party, observing events and making recommendations, making observations. And these observations generally or usually are based on facts that you find in your research. So you're always looking at things from a third person perspective, and you have this professional distance from the subject that you are researching or talking about. And that's another reason why academic English is more formal and also does not use the I, you, or we. Okay, so academic English is formal, precise, clear, and objective. First, clear. For example, the professor gave the students her notes. Okay. So what are you trying to say? Are you trying to say, did the professor give her notes to the students? Or are you trying to say, did the professor give the students' notes back to her? So this is the problem with the pronoun reference and why you have to be more explicit when you're using academic English, because you don't want to have any ambiguity, any confusion in your writing. So first, academic English is clear. Academic English is also formal. Let's look at these levels of formality here. For example, here is low formality. Before Marco Polo's trip to China, Europe had no paper. So we have the as you may have learned from the seminar yesterday, the dependent clause and then the independent clause here to make this a complex sentence. Here's medium formality. Before Marco Polo's voyage to China, so notice the upgrade in the vocabulary, Europe didn't have paper. So we went from had no to didn't, but we still have a contraction. And let's look at academic English. Prior to Marco Polo's expedition to China, now notice a higher level of English used for trip and for voyage, expedition. Europeans did not have paper. So the contraction goes away and we have to spell out the contraction. This is an example of good academic English. Academic English is precise. The man asked for a raise. Mr. Jones requested a $10,000 salary increase from his boss. All right, so now we know that it's Mr. Jones and not just the man. We now know what he requested. Again, another upgrade in the language used. Requested a $10,000 salary increase. So now we not only know a raise, but we know the amount of the raise and from the person that he asked it. So Mr. Jones requested a $10,000 salary increase from his boss. So remember, also on the IELTS, you always want to give details, details, details. And academic English helps you do that by being more precise, more formal, and more clear. And finally, academic English is objective. As I said, you'll see essay prompts on the IELTS that will ask you about, give your own opinion or give your own view. Well, you can do so without using I. I is what we would normally say when we're speaking. And this would be okay on the speaking test, even though to be more academic, you can get rid of the I, as we can see here. And you can just state this. So let's look at the example. I believe that online learning is the best way for students to get an education. As you know, education, one of the big vocabulary topics on the IELTS test, possibly. You might get it on the speaking, you may get it in the essay prompt. So education is a big topic that they have a lot of questions about on the IELTS. So all the time when I'm reading my papers for students, I always cross out, I believe that, I feel that, I know that. First of all, you're saying too many words, right? First of all, it's too many words because you always want to say the least with the most. I'm sorry. I always get that mixed up sometimes. Say the most with the least words possible. So every word that you write is every word that must be necessary for you to write. Any more words that you write that are not necessary, then you're going to make your writing longer, more dense, and more confusing for the reader. So you can easily scratch out, I believe that, and simply just say, online learning is the best way for students to get an education. Or you can say, research suggests that students learn more from lessons online. So it's a totally different way of writing what you just said in the first example. And as I said, you don't even need I believe that or I feel that. Just start right here with the rest of your sentence. Online learning is the best way for students to get an education. How do I know that you believe that? Well, you wrote it. So you don't need to tell me I believe that. It's kind of redundant as well. Just write your sentence and leave off I feel that, I believe that, or I know that. And you're eliminating the use of I, and you're using fewer words to say more. All right, number 3, no spoken English. A huge flaw in the communicative method, which is used in ESL classrooms, English classrooms around the world, is to focus on speaking. And there's less focus on writing, and maybe even vocabulary is not even a priority, unfortunately, in a lot of classes. Of course, this doesn't help you when you go and take the IELTS or TOEFL test. You need the vocabulary, and you also need to be able to write in English, to communicate in English, write in English. So when many students arrive at Avant and they are preparing for the IELTS test, they have heard a lot of advice from the web and from maybe from their previous English classes to write like you speak, right? In this age of Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, 100, not 140 words, but 140 characters or less. I think they've expanded it now on Twitter a little bit, but everything is these short bursts of messages. And the long form of writing, a sentence, and then a paragraph, and then an essay, seems to be getting more and more out of date. However, if you're going to get a good score on the IELTS or TOEFL test, you need to be able to write English well. And in this case, for IELTS academic and the TOEFL, you need academic English to write well and to get a high score on the exam. So in academic English, you want to avoid the expressions kind of, a lot of, sort of, right? These are very informal. These are things that you would say, but not things that that you would write in a formal essay. Remember, on the IELTS academic, it's a formal essay. Also, for writing task 1, same thing. Academic English is used when you're talking about the charts and graphs and things like that. So in academic English, you do not write like you speak. Number 4, contractions. Spell out your words in academic English. So is it becomes is not, can't becomes cannot, and doesn't becomes does not. Example, many citizens aren't in favor of the proposal. In academic English, many citizens are not in favor of the proposal. I don't see this a whole lot, I would say, in the papers that I've graded from candidates for IELTS, but it does pop up occasionally. Certainly, I see it a lot in when people submit their evaluations for writing, and I have to, scratch it out and correct it. Because again, most people are under the impression that you write like you speak. It's like writing a blog article or some post on Facebook, and they forget the formal English that's necessary for the test. So no contractions. Number 5, hedge with modals. So hedge is when you kind of take a step back, right? You don't go so forward so fast. You kind of take a step back and you soften the language with modals. And I know from teaching regular English that modals are a problem for students, when to use them, which one to use them. And the more that you study English and become attuned to the language, you kind of get a feeling of when to use might, when to use may, when to use should and could. These start to become a little bit more natural as you begin more knowledge about how English works. So let's take a look at hedging with modals. So you want to use modals in academic English when possible to avoid direct language. Now, you do want to be precise and you do want to be clear, but also in a way you express these things in indirect language. So first, let's look at some modals that you could use in your essay. Should, to give advice. Could to talk about a possibility. Would for requests, preferences, and permission. Must for obligation, and may to express a present or future possibility. Let's look at some examples. You are wrong. Just come right out and say it, right? Well, that's very direct, very brusque, and could be rude as well, depending on who you're talking with, whether it's someone you know closely or someone you don't know closely. So how can you say that in academic English where it's a little softer and a little bit less indirect? Well, we use a modal. You may be mistaken. You may be mistaken. So it's a little softer, gentler, less direct, less offensive, and you want to use a modal to express the indirect language in academic English. Number 6, no I, you, or we. So these are the personal pronouns, and you want to avoid the personal touch to academic English. Remember, it's objective. It's supposed to be like a researcher or an observer of things that are happening, and you are commenting on what you see as a neutral observer. Well, I is not neutral, and we is not neutral, and you is not neutral. So you have to find a way around this. Let's look at an example here. As I said, even when you are asked to give your opinion on the IELTS test, depending on the essay prompt that you see, you still want to avoid saying I. It's very simple. Students go right to it. I believe that the sky is blue. Well, that's the simple way. But as you know, there are no shortcuts to a high grade on the IELTS test. If you want to write I, and you're not going to see a very high score. You're not going to be rewarded for that. That's very easy. Anyone can do that, and therefore it's not going to be that well rewarded on the test. So let's look at our example here. I believe that eagles can fly faster than hawks. All right. Again, you can just plainly scratch out I believe that, because if you write just simply eagles can fly faster than hawks, then all right, I know that's what you believe or what you're talking about, because that's what you wrote. You don't need to tell me that you believe that. And also you use fewer words, and also it's more formal and objective. All right. Finally, passive English. Passive English. All right. Let's take a look at this. Use a passive construction instead of I and you. So here's a way to get around, another way of getting around using I or you. While English teachers cringe, passive English is a feature of academic English. Right? You want to use more active English in your writing. You want to be able to use, Jane threw the ball to Mary, right? You want to use more direct English than the passive English. But passive English is an acceptable part of academic English. You just don't want to write your whole paper in passive English. You're going to have too many words. All right. Example. Instead of, I characterize the elements by their atomic number, you could simply write, the elements were categorized by their atomic numbers. Okay, so you take the active here, use an I, put it into a third person passive with the past tense of is, which of course in this case would be were to agree with elements, and then the ed form of the verb were categorized. The elements were categorized by their atomic numbers. So passive English is a way around of using I and you. All right. So I have some sentences here, a couple of sentences here. I need your help to turn them into academic English. All right. So let's see who's here today. All right. Now, show of hands, who can give me an academic sentence for the first sentence we have here? A lot of students can't write a paragraph after graduation. Who wants to volunteer here to help us out with this sentence? Anyone who wants to help us out today? Virgo? Okay. Virgo, are you there? Hello?
Hello, hi.
Hello there. How are you today? Oh, Virginia, how are you?
Hi, I'm great, thank you.
Good.
And
All
you?
right. Can you help us out with the sentence here?
Sure. Let me try. Many students cannot write a paragraph after graduation.
All right. Let's see here what we have. All right. Many students cannot write a paragraph after graduation. So what did you do here? What did you, well, okay. So the substitution, take a lot of out, put in many, take out the contraction and put in cannot, and then you have the rest of your sentence. All right. Number 2, you need to analyze the data before forming an opinion. All right. Who can help us put that into academic English? Anyone? Anyone dare to help us out? All right. So instead of using you here, let's see what we can come up with. The data need to be analyzed before forming an opinion. All right. So to be analyzed. It's a way of writing the passive English, and a way of avoiding using you. So remember, you can rely on the passive English to help you to avoid using I, you, and we in your academic English sentences. All right. So we looked at 7 top secrets of academic English today. First, academic English is the English of the universities in English-speaking countries. It's formal, precise, clear, and objective. There is no spoken English in academic English. There's no contractions. You can hedge your language, and you want to, in academic English using modals. There's no I, you, or we. And also, you can use passive English to avoid using I, you, and we in your sentences. All right. So those are the 7 top secrets of academic English. Now, I gave you the handouts for this presentation in the handout section that you can download in the PDF. I noticed in the questions for the polling that everyone said that academic English was their priority, which is good. It should make that a part of your priority for IELTS. So not only reading, listening, speaking, and writing, vocabulary, grammar, but also academic English, a necessary skill that you need to be able to use to get a high score on the IELTS test. Well, that wraps up our presentation for today. I want to thank everyone for attending and your interest in proving your English skills and improving your IELTS performance on the test on exam day. Make sure that you continue to study every day and do something to improve your English or IELTS skills. And stay tuned for more webinars to help you to continue to increase your academic English and IELTS skills for the test. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of your Friday and weekend, and we'll see you in the next webinar. Goodbye.